Welcome back to the Within podcast. This is your host, Nicky Wallace, with co host Allie Sartain. We're excited to have you back for an episode that I feel like is near and dear to Allie's heart.
Definitely to me.
Yeah.
But we're all guilty of it.
yeah. I think I'm starting to open my eyes a little bit more to it. But the unconscious consumer, I think is what we're calling it. And Allie's going to probably kick us off and talk a little bit more about it. But it's kind of an interesting topic. And
Yeah.
we did have a vendor at the Potential Within that was talking about unconscious, like speaking and how that impacts. But you really get into, I feel like, the unconscious just consumer in general. So
Yes.
what the hell does that mean?
Okay.
Share.
So as you guys know, I've been through my own journey, my own story. But like I said, a million times I've sat with thousands of women who have been also going on their own journey. And there's a commonality. I was constantly listening to, someone 20 years younger than me on TikTok or, somebody who had a completely different biology than I did. The world is full of noise. The beauty industry
Mhm.
is one of the loudest and it's everywhere. And
I would say beauty and wellness. Like I
yeah.
would put that
Oh,
in there.
yeah.
But
And so, yes, I am very passionate about this because I come from a world of helping women and men restore their hair, gain control of scalp conditions. And I realized, even in the program I was trained, the more patients I started to see, the more serious conditions would start to come in. And I think that where I struggled is I'm like, I'm doing all the right things. I'm giving them the shampoo, I'm selling them the topicals, they're doing the treatments, but we weren't getting all the
mhm.
results that we needed. And that's because I realized is, there was a biology piece to it. There was, what they had
Yeah.
going on.
There is, yeah, a
Yeah.
biology piece to it.
And so that's when, I took my business deeper and when I really started to get passionate about, we're all so unique and we all have we're sisters and we could not be more different in the things that we like.
We're literally 13 months apart, yet we have and we grew up in obviously the same household and we still have such different like needs, wants, views, all the things. So anyway, it's just kind of funny. I really think I mean, you've talked about this kind of over the years, and I think people are starting to wake up to a little bit more of this. I read a study, it's probably been like a year ago, so this data may even be outdated at this point, but that we as a society, we are actually getting data millions of times faster because of the internet and social media and like what we have
Yeah.
access to just right at our fingertips. So, before we're sitting there reading the newspaper, we're going through Craigslist,
Yeah.
depends what era, like the
I know
millennials.
Craigslist. I
I
still
used
use
I
that.
used to recruit on Craigslist. That was how I would like get
Yeah.
a
I
lot
mean,
of
I
my
used it
people.
too.
Yeah, so
It's been a long time.
don't shade
You're
that.
aging yourself. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm old. I'm gonna be 40 this year, but I'm still having a baby. But I think, point is that like we're getting so much more information so much faster. We have resources so much more like readily available that then we get inundated and you don't really, and I think as a society, that's kind of where we've started to lose sight of like what works for us. And we're used to our dad this weekend we did not realize he had such a TikTok shop addiction and
Yeah.
he does not get all of the purchases that he buys. But I think it just goes to show that, we're all sitting on our social media, sitting on our, our emails, think of all the marketing emails that you get, and you just go and click and buy the thing without maybe looking at what's in it. I think where I started to really see this is, about a year and a half into my health journey that I know I've talked about 1,000 times on this show, but is epigenetics. So, Allie,
Yeah.
you really introduced me to epigenetics, and then I started going deep into it, and then I feel like we
Right.
kind of swapped, and you've really taken it over. But you do these hair tests, and you really get a lot of data very quickly
Yeah.
on what's impacting your body and how it's impacting it, why it's impacting it. And I think the first report I ever got back on myself, and now I've done it with my kids, you can do
Yeah.
it with your dog. It's kind of amazing to see how the outside world and our environments are really impacting our biology. So we talked at the beginning about biology and that each of us has such a unique
Mhm.
DNA and how we process things. I've found out that I have the MTHFR gene,
Yeah.
through all of this and that, even gives a different light on how things are processed in my body. So But I started doing these tests because I was so desperate to figure out what was going on inside my body and why. And I had started doing the functional blood work, which tells you a whole slew of things. I was always kind of the naive consumer, I think, to think like, oh, whatever, kick that can down the road
Yeah.
and we'll,
Yeah.
figure it out when it comes. Well, until the day that it came. And then it's like, oh God, we got to try and figure out
Yeah.
how that's all impacting.
Well, I think too, like growing up, you always heard, oh, well, my dad had that or my mom has
Yes.
that. So that's my future. It's only 2%, is influenced by your genetics,
Hmm.
but it's the epigenetics, which
Your
is,
environment.
the environment, the lifestyle, the stress that you're under. This is like a light switch, and that is going to either flip on, and that gene that you have is either going to be expressed or it's not
Yep.
going to be, which, is why again, I brought this into the studies that I'm doing because, it's so important. And so the test really allows you to get granular. And to me, I'm just as guilty and have a cabinet full of products, but we're always chasing after, this like validation or the right thing.
Right.
But what if you could eliminate that by really getting granular with your health and your body? Would you rather spend $10,000 chasing all these products hoping for a result, or would you rather do testing and get down to the bottom of what you have going on and maybe buy a handful of supplements or change your lifestyle and change your foods
Yeah.
and then really see an impact and see some change from there. So I just think it's data driven beauty is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
And
I
I
like
just
that.
think it's crucial. And I think we've gotten so far into listening to what everyone else thinks we need that I think a big thing I want to talk about too is we lose a sense of ourself with that.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but you get busy being a mom or a business owner and you're putting on all these different hats and you're doing all these things. And then at some point you realize you're just kind of going through the
Yeah.
motions.
So I think it's just, you know, not to pull this back to the potential within, but another reason that education. So when I think of what I'm doing or what we're doing with potential within, it's really three components: education, resources, what resources are available, and then community. And I think, being able to bring in providers that have been vetted, that we do know, that we're able to, kind of vouch for, is important because, again, I've had several friends just recently in the Des Moines area the last couple of years. There was a surgeon, plastic surgeon, that was found out not doing a lot of things that
That's
should be
crazy.
going on, so
Yeah.
you think that that stuff's not going to happen in your backyard, but it is. But again, you get so sucked in as a consumer on all of these different things, or people through their marketing,
Yeah.
or resources. I think it's two things here. Like, A, how do we become more conscious? So how do you become more conscious of your body, your what you need as a person? It might not even be from a health perspective. It's
Yeah.
just maybe, hey, I'm a mess in the morning if I don't get
Hmm.
myself up
Yeah.
an hour before my kids so
Yeah.
that I can enjoy my workout and my cup of coffee before the madness begins. That's even like a simple thing, not even going down the whole epigenetic and blood work and all that. But then the other thing is we're all on this journey, and I think
Yeah.
that's like a big thing we keep coming back to as well. Is just take a minute and stop and kind of
Yeah.
figure out where you are on this journey, and what's serving you and what's not serving you. And then dig a little deeper there. Like, you don't need to do all of the things. You don't need to try to be this super person where you're going and getting on the blood work and doing the workout. And
Right.
you've mentioned something about even, you're the mom with the calendar and the
Yeah.
highlighter and
The
all the
color coded
stickies and all this
calendar.
stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, you can do that, but is it sustainable? And so taking a step back and looking at the life that you're living and what you're consuming, from all components, and kind of see what's serving you.
Well, and I think, just bringing it back to all of that and just being more present with ourselves, like not even just with people. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm guilty of this. I'm never up here standing on a pedestal. I'm only speaking from experience, and all of this is a practice. It's not like one day you're going to just be so present in your life and never shop something because you were influenced. Like, but it is just showing up every day and being a little bit more aware.
Yeah.
But I'll, kind of scan my body and, how am I feeling? Like, what do I want to make today feel like? Like, be,
like that.
open to the unexpected miracles or surprises and be conscious enough to even see them around you,
Yeah.
Like, I'm one thing I've like really tried to be aware of is, I'm like, oh, I'll just put on Bravo while I'm cooking, or I'll put earbuds in when I'm going for a walk and listen to a podcast. And while I love all this, and I hope you're listening to our podcast and
Yeah, turn it
walking,
off and go for your walk.
yeah. But it's like I didn't realize how distracted
Yeah.
I was living. And it's been very powerful to take myself away from that. And, the thoughts that I have, how much more present I am with my kids and myself, and how much more creative
Yeah.
I've been able to be. I think when we're constantly consuming, it really, for entrepreneurs, it can kill that kind of like side of you a
Creativity.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the crazy mom, busy woman, like I think we hit a lot of markets here. I mean, what's the first thing that you would tell somebody or have somebody start practicing?
I definitely think one, we're already getting your wheels turning by listening to this, but I would start in the morning.
Or you just think we're crazy.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
You'll get to this point eventually though, because
Yeah.
I think what it is have you ever heard the thing and they're like the top of, bajillionaires in the world literally make their day so simple.
Yeah.
They wear the same outfit, they eat the same thing,
They have
and
a very regimented routine that
well,
serves their body. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, the decision fatigue that we were talking about, that's why we're also exhausted and also stressed out. It's not because it's chaotic and there's so much going on. Like, do I still have chaos in my life? Yeah, I have a 6-year-old and a teenager at home, but like I can better like take on those situations. I can better think
Mhm.
when I'm like
I would agree.
clear-headed. And so I just think it's so important that you start small. And, yes, we'll always recommend a supplement or a tool that helps us, but there's so many ways you can reconnect back to yourself. And, the morning check-in, how am I feeling? What do I want out of today? Before I go do anything, before I did this, I laid in bed and I thought, like, how do I want to show up? What do I want to teach people, and just start really having little moments of clarity. Go for a walk without
Yeah.
AirPods in, cook dinner and just maybe have a soft, jazz or something without even words in it, just really try to pull back from all of the distractions that we've been bombarded with.
Yeah, I would say the same. If you turn the question on me, is
Yeah.
just start with yourself. I think just start with
Mhm.
what's like sit in the silence. I
Yeah.
feel like I've heard that a lot lately. I've listened to a lot of podcasts for whatever reason. Maybe this is the universe putting something in my wheelhouse, but
Yeah.
about like your patterns and like what are your patterns, what are your habits, and what's serving you. So I think just even taking small check-ins, and this is kind of how I think I started to do it personally, is just how do you like, take a minute every morning, take a minute every night, like, whenever you can take that minute, 5 minutes. It doesn't even have to be a long time, because I know you have it in your
Yeah.
day. You can cut
Yeah. I was
something
just going
out,
to say that.
or while you're in your Starbucks line, like, take a minute to
Yeah.
think about something, but find a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes for yourself where you can either journal. That's been a huge thing for me. I know
Yeah.
you journal a lot. And then go back and look at, like, what are the patterns that are showing up? What are the things I one of the things we were talking about this morning before we started this is I something had triggered me and I sat back and I was like, I wanted to process it
Yeah.
out loud. And so Allie was sitting here listening to it. But I think, being able to get to the point of like, okay, why did that piss me off? Or like, hey, that really made me excited. Like, what about that really made me excited? And it sounds so silly, but you really can start to see like what brings you joy or vice versa. What the do I need out of my life
Yeah.
because it is just not serving me. And sometimes that's surprising, right? Sometimes that's a
Yeah.
person. Sometimes that's a 5 a.m. gym routine that you've done for 25 years. And, maybe that's actually not what your body needs at this season of life. So
Yeah.
I think just again, be kind of taking those check-ins throughout the day would maybe be the best way to say it and kind of see what shows up after even a couple of days.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was saying. Like, get through 1 week, but I
yeah.
thought of it in the analogy of like, you know, I like almost like you get in a car with someone that you don't know, right? And they're driving you through the city and you don't know how fast they're going to go, where they're taking you, what stops they're going to make. And I feel like that's how a lot of us have gotten to live our lives is someone else is in control. Someone else is driving the
Yep.
bus and we're no longer making those choices. And so, like we've said, sitting in silence, before you go buy another product, like, is the packaging cute? Absolutely. Does it smell amazing? You know that it
Probably.
does. But it's like, what will this actually do for me?
Yeah.
And what does my hair or my body, my skin, my mind, like, what do I actually need? I just challenge you, maybe we start with that, like, instead of even sitting in the silence or doing any of that, like, next time you go buy something, just think about it and like, what do you
Yeah.
need from this? What is this going to do for you? Or
Yeah.
are you just being influenced?
And I think you'll be surprised too, like who like the I know I brought up triggers, but like who's like some of the triggers are or like the things that you're noticing that make you happy or make you not
Yeah.
feel good or name the malady. I think you'll also be surprised by some of that. Like are you letting in that doesn't need to be in? Who, every time you meet with them, they just like they give
Drain
you
you.
like a little bit of like,
Yeah.
why am I even here? This was a waste of my half hour. Like it's okay to cut those things or people or, you know, habits out.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, we're kind of beating a dead horse with this, but like you need to start controlling your life to be able to feel better,
Yeah.
really, from like a mental, physical, and spiritual space.
I think we've become so disconnected, and this is going to sound really woo woo, but what I have noticed is when you start listening to yourself and you get quiet enough, your body will actually show you or tell you what you need.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the analogy of like eating a food and having a reaction. It goes along with products, with movies, with music, with literally everything that we're consuming in a day is giving you a feeling. So is it, feeding that stress or that negative loop, or is it fueling your passions and you feeling good and you wanting to go play and like discover more? Because I think bringing that awareness to your life is literally life changing.
Well, I know. I feel like we like could probably go a long time. Maybe we need to split this up
I
a
know,
little bit and do some more
it's my favorite
sessions.
topic.
But I think, we've gone to the kind of the extremes here. So like if you haven't even ever thought of this, like I truly would like sit with yourself for 1 minute, 5 minutes, whatever you have time to do a couple times a day. And kind of think about some of this stuff, like what am I feeling? What's making me come alive? What's not making me come alive? And what are the things that are surrounding that? And then to the extreme, if you're already doing some of this,
Yeah.
like get some testing, and we can definitely put a link to Allie's epigenetic testing. She can do it virtual, but I would encourage people to do some sort of epigenetic testing, whether, it's the hair scan or there's, different, even just doing blood work, you're going to see different results from blood work because that's going to give you a snapshot of where you are versus the epigenetic testing, that's going to really look at the body as multiple systems
Yep.
and what's challenging it. But if you've started dabbling in some of this, like getting some of those, that data. I feel like Allie and I are very, I didn't know we were such data people. And being able to like pull that up and really have something to start guiding you a little bit more, I think was a game changer for
Well, it's
me
like
personally.
yeah, you can either sit and look at, your symptoms and, oh, she's experiencing that too. That must be what that is.
Yeah.
Or, stuff like that. I mean, it's so easy to, attach yourself to that, but like nothing will lie when it's literally in black and white and
Mhm.
staring at you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people get intimidated with, but it's just information and it's how
Totally.
you grow and how you optimize your not just health, but your life and how you're able to show up and reconnect with yourself and have these positive experiences, or you start to notice the little synchronicities or, beautiful parts of things that light you up, the more that you're going to have that and the more enjoyable just life in general is going to be.
Yeah. I would agree.
So living more intentionally,
I know.
no more unconscious consuming. We should allow that only for like an hour on a Sunday.
What about for a pregnant 39,
You can only do that in your
39-year
40 week
old?
of pregnancy.
Sometimes I just want to be unconscious about it and just let it happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely easier, but the days that I do kind of slip and let, whatever happened, I
Right.
do these feel different at the end of the day.
Well, it's like
So
life is you're no longer living your life.
yeah.
Life is like, you're just like a part of it. So I saw a thing once and it was made me think, but it was like if you were a Netflix show, right? And somebody was watching, you were watching your life. would you be like, "Oh my god, this is so boring. Like, there's nothing happening. It's too slow." Or would you want to watch it? And I think becoming these unconscious consumers has trickled into so much all of that. We're
Yeah, I
so
would agree.
busy watching everybody else and doing everything, we forget to live ourselves. And so for me, an unconscious beauty movement trickles into all of that. And it really sums up kind of how we've gotten to be. And I think where we need to kind of wake up and get to. So,
Love it. Well, thanks for following along. We hope that this episode gave you at least something to think about. We'll put the epigenetic testing that Allie does in the show notes. So if anybody cares to reach out to her, I would highly suggest. It's very comprehensive. And if you're not there yet, you're
yeah.
not ready for that yet, just start with simple check ins with yourself. But we hope that this helped you at least a little bit, kind of think about or open the door to what is unconscious consuming. Kind of where are you doing it in your life, and where can you make some tweaks to feel just a little bit better every day? So,
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
see you next week. Thanks.